everyone, welcome back to Nebcam Gaming. My name is Jim, and I'm back with a video about negative God of War Ragnarok reviews. Now, when God of War Ragnarok came out last year, it took me a while to get around to playing it, but once I did, it became one of my favourite games of all time. It's in my top 3, along with God of War 2018 and The Last of Us. So that is a pretty big deal to me, to have 2 games from the same franchise in my top 3. Never before seen in my entire life. So I thought, what would be an interesting filler video? And I do say filler video with a pinch of salt there, because I did put a community post up earlier about me and Ben being really busy with their day jobs and everything like that. We will get back to the scripted stuff very soon. We're currently working on a couple of videos. You will be getting some more of that soon. But I thought it would be funny if I looked at a couple of negative God of War Ragnarok reviews that I found on Google. I thought, this is going to be pretty funny because I love the game and I want to see what insane takes people have about it. Now, I've got a list of a couple of them right in front of me, and to be fair, some of them I don't always disagree, but there are a lot of them which I think are batshit insane, and just for privacy reasons, I'm going to blur the people's names. I'm going to not show them. I'm not going to show you how to find these reviews either, because I don't condone harassment of any kind or any trolling or whatever. So let's get into it, shall we? Awful game. Walking simulator with a new coat of paint, just like every other Sony exclusive. I hate the new direction the combat has been taken. I can't stand the father-son dynamic. They ripped it off from The Last of Us. God of War has been a garbage franchise since 2008. Now, to call God of War Ragnarok a walking simulator, I think you're being a bit dramatic there, because there is so much more you can do than just walk in this fucking game. You don't like the new combat direction? That's completely fine. If you prefer the way it was in the old games, that's completely fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's an objective flaw. I mean, the walking simulator part is the part which I can't wrap my head around. I mean, if you really want to criticize a AAA game for being a walking simulator, look at Death Stranding. A lot of that is pretty much walking. I mean, again, the combat system, it has changed quite a lot. It's more over-the-shoulder camera right now, and if you don't like it, that's pretty much a you thing. You can't stand the father and son dynamic because it ripped it off in The Last of Us. Now, there are so many different things that differentiate from The Last of Us to God of War. For example, in The Last of Us, it was Joel finding purpose in his life again by meeting Ellie and becoming a father figure. Now, the difference is Kratos and Atreus have a very different kind of relationship there already, father and son, and it's about him learning to appreciate his son more over time, slowly seeing his son evolve from being a boy into a man. Because if you play God of War 2018 and then Ragnarok, you will see that Kratos doesn't really call Atreus boy in Ragnarok. It's because he has a more profound respect for him now, where the relationship is just totally different to The Last of Us. I don't know where you came up with that. God of picking up fruits. I wish I could get a refund from this farm simulator. What happened to aggressive God of War? I understand he is older, but playing with Atreus was my slipping pill. I think he means sleeping pill every night. The only reason why I'll be finishing this game is because I spent $70 on it. Nothing else. Game sucks. Now, again, comparing it to a fucking simulator, like the last review was a walking simulator and this is a farm simulator. I get that it goes the route of more RPG-like, where you go around and you collect gear to upgrade your weapons, your armor, and stuff like that. But a farming simulator is a farming simulator. God of War is not a farming simulator. There is a lot more stuff you can do than just collecting loot and stuff like that. There's huge boss encounters, great combat mechanics, really tough challenges, berserkers that you get to fight, and what happened to aggressive God of War? You're telling me that this isn't aggressive? That seems pretty aggressive to me. Again, it has been toned down in terms of the combat mechanics and I suppose, you know, the aggressiveness of the moves and everything like that from the original games. But come on, if we're really gonna carry on with that same sort of gameplay, you know, the combo, the button mashing, the franchise would have got stale very quickly. God of War 18 was, in my opinion, a reboot that was needed. Of course, it was risky. People are not everyone's gonna like it. One thing I can actually agree with slightly is that playing as Atreus could sometimes be a bit tedious. It's a bit more linear. You want to explore, but you're kind of restricted to what you can do in certain sections and that. But the only reason you're going to finish it is because you spent your money on it and nothing else. Fair enough. But a farm simulator? Come on. Unplayable, annoying, too many backseat from the sun. I want to play the game by myself. I stopped playing after a few hours. Big deception, can't deactivate the voice of the sun, just horrible. I stopped playing Plague Tales and Horizon Forbidden West for that. Allow us to remove those annoying features. I don't need help. I want to explore and experience the game by myself. Now, to be fair, I can see some, valid criticism in this post right here. I really don't agree that it's unplayable. It's not unplayable. To make it unplayable would mean that the game is glitched to high heaven, which makes it unbearable to the point where you just can't even progress without something bad happening. God of War Ragnarok, it has a smooth frame rate, consistent flow, a great story, fun combat. That's just how I see it. So unplayable, I think, is a bit of a stretch. However, I think I do agree with a lot of AAA games now doing that thing where the character is constantly monologuing to themselves like, I should do this, I should do that, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that. I do agree that they need to tone that back a little bit and just let the player experience for themselves. So I see some truth in this post right here, but unplayable, not so much. It's so sad how hard they tried to copy Elden Ring with its artificial difficulty scaling and failed miserably. This is a story game, not a combat game. Don't pay $60 if you want to buy it for the combat, because it's not even worth $5 in terms of combat design. Brother, have you ever played a game that has bad combat design before? Because if you think God of War Ragnarok has bad combat design, I don't think we're playing the same game here. Now, it kind of sounds like you don't like the combat design in this game, you don't like the way it flows. Maybe you're a fan of the original God of War games and the way their combat was structured. If that's the case, fair enough. But your argument here is that it's bad because you think it's bad. Maybe if you gave us an argument of why you think it's bad, then this would be more of a valid review to me. Because I've definitely played games that have been too expensive and, and the combat is just bad. But God of War Ragnarok is just far from that. Sure, it's different than the older God of War games, but because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. And I really don't understand this bit with copy Elden Ring with its artificial difficulty scaling and failed miserably. I don't think this game was trying to copy Elden Ring at all. It was just trying to expand on a formula that the original God of War games set up. Big epic fights, the runic powers, the blades of chaos, anything that has big massive scale. God of War has always been like that. It's just a bit different in this game, a bit more of a cinematic kind of touch, maybe not as over the top. Now, as someone who's not really played Elden Ring, I just know for a fact that this game was not trying to copy Elden Ring in the slightest. Another sorry rehash. I was done right in the middle of the boss fight when Kratos' shield breaks. What next? Your axe breaks? I'm not spending the rest of the game wondering if my gear will break every time I get into a fight. Completely pathetic. I deleted that Fudge Pack festival. I think with Kratos' shield, the reason why it broke, it was supposed to be like, I could be wrong here, but I think it was more of a story touch kind of thing because that shield belonged to Faye, which is Kratos' wife, and that shield meant a lot to him, and pretty much Sindri and Brock fix it not long afterwards and the rest of your gear doesn't break throughout the entire thing. I don't know, it just sounds like one piece of gear breaks and then you assume the rest of it would break as well. I don't know. Insane, bad storytelling. I was born to be the greatest blah blah. We play a game called God of War and I want to play it. Why should we play with his kid? Okay, why should we play as his kid is what this person meant. No one likes movies with this storytelling anymore. Why would you make it now? It's insane and bad. Now the thing is, if you don't like the storytelling in this game, that sounds like a very subjective thing in your opinion. Yes, a lot of games and films have that I was born to be the greatest blah 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 stuff, but it's not just about that. It's about a beautiful father and son relationship, how they learn from one another. Like I said previously, in God of War 2018, Kratos had pretty much zero trust in his son to go out and be his own man, and in this one, he finally grows from being that boy into a warrior. Why are we playing as his kid now? Because Atreus is just as essential to this story as Kratos, and the thing is, Kratos is the God of War. That means Atreus is also a god, and now that Atreus is a warrior too, technically he's also a God of War. But again, it's not just about being the greatest of all time. There's a very touching story with all of it. It's not just about Kratos and Atreus. There's deep backstories between everybody. Brock, Sindri, Freya. There's a lot of deep stuff in there. Not very great, rushed storytelling, bad dialogue and underdeveloped characters. It just feels boring and underwhelming. Sad since the greatness of God of War 4, that being 2018, this game has so much potential, but it fails to live up to the better game. Now, I completely understand if people prefer 2018 to God of War Ragnarok. At first, I wasn't very sure which one I preferred. I still think that 2018 may be the slightly better game with a slightly better story, but there's a lot more to this game than just storytelling. Now, I don't understand how it's rushed storytelling. I don't think this was rushed in the slightest. It seems that a lot of love and care was put into it. The characters are developed. Kratos and Atreus learning to respect each other. Kratos knowing that his son has to follow his own path now, Kratos making amends with Freya after a very, very tragic ending in the last one where Kratos practically murders Freya's son. And if you found it boring and underwhelming, I guess that's your opinion, fair enough. Atreus questioning everything he knows because he's always been that character that has good morals, the guy that wants to help people, the guy that's trying to, convince his father, try to push his father to be better than what he is, to help people, to go out, to save the world, to be the hero. Atreus put so much trust into people itself that he didn't even realise that the entire time Tyr was actually Odin in disguise, and because of that, Tyr/Odin ended up killing Brock, shattering that friendship that Atreus and Sindri had.
You want sorry? This is what sorry looks like.
What can we do?
There is no we.
That's character development to me, but I definitely fundamentally disagree with that it's rushed and that it's bad and that the characters are underdeveloped. Extremely overrated by fanboys of Sony, the game is lackluster in every single way compared to the first God of War reboot. Don't get me started on Atreus' parts, just god-awful. Now again, I can slightly agree if people don't like the Atreus parts. I like them personally, but I do think that they were a bit restrictive, as I said before, a bit linear. Playing as Kratos was a lot more fun, but I don't understand how you think the game is lackluster in every single way compared to the first God of War. There are so many things that this game improves on in terms of more refined controls, characters changing from the first game, Atreus becoming a man, so much more gear options, an extra weapon. I don't understand how it's, lackluster in every single conceivable way. I really don't get that, but okay. There's great news about this game. It stays true to all the other God of War games, meaning there's not a damn thing good to say about it. That just means you don't like God of War. It's not valid criticism. Considering the devs have made Berserkers such a near impossible to beat, I'll have to go with 1 star. If I wanted hard, I would have chosen it. Even on the easiest mode, near impossible, poorly made. And the thing is, if you find the Berserkers hard, that doesn't mean it's poorly made. And it seems that you're basing your entire review and your entire perspective on the game right now just that the Berserkers are hard. The thing is, you don't have to beat the Berserkers to actually complete the main story anyway, so why don't you just skip it? I wish I could give no stars due to being the worst game I've ever played in my life. Well, if that's the only argument you're going to give, then I don't really know how to answer this. I think this game deserves a 1 star. Overhyped, there was not enough twists, combat worse than Devil May Cry. I'll give it a 2 star for the father-son connection that should be the main focus in movies, but not the main focus of a game, thus making the game not feel interactive since we couldn't alter the emotions and just watch the story play out. You see, I think cinematic storytelling, like in films, can fit into games like this really well, and it's not just watching it play out in front of you. You actually do have to, you can actually play the game, There are plenty of combat encounters, plenty of exploration elements that you can do, plenty of side objectives, plenty of things that you can upgrade and collect. It's a video game, and I don't think like shove movie kind of storytelling into a game is a bad thing. If anything, it can enhance the experience sometimes, as long as it's not completely overdone, which I really don't think that's the case for this game. If you're trying to find 1-star reviews, then just give up. This game is amazing, buy it. Yes, my G. I think I'm going to end it with that one. And just as a disclaimer before I wrap this video up, do not, and I repeat, please do not harass these people, search these reviews up online and give them shit. It's just their opinion on a game, whether it be outlandish or not. These are still people, no hate towards them as individuals. I'm sure they're all nice people. They just don't like God of War Ragnarok and don't really have any good claims to back up why. That's all. So guys, I think I'll leave it at that. That is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, speaking from an actual perspective here, it's perfectly fine if you don't like this game. The reason why I just wanted to read out these reviews today is because I thought it would be, just for the shits and giggles of how outlandish some of them are and how a lot of them don't have a lot of, context to back up their claims and what they're saying. And so I just wanted to make a quick filler video here, just a bit of fun, calling out some negative reviews that don't have a lot of context as to why they think it's a bad game. I just thought it'd be fun. Anyway, me and Ben will be returning very soon to the more scripted stuff, so stay tuned for that. As always, I hope you had a fantastic day. If you like what we do here, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I've been Jim. Have a good day.